There are two big groups of plants. We have plants with seeds and plants without seeds. The main difference between them is that they reproduce in a different way. Plants with seeds reproduce sexually. That means that we have a female cell and a male cell that join together to form a new cell. In this case, the seed. They produce seeds. There are two different groups of plants that produce seeds: angiosperms and gymnosperms. Angiosperms plants have flowers and fruits. Gymnosperms have no fruits. They produce cones and needles. Plants without seeds reproduce asexually. They can reproduce in several ways, but now we are going to study plants that reproduce with spores. These spores are microscopic and covered by protective walls. Here we can see the difference between gymnosperms and angiosperms. As we can see, gymnosperms have no flowers and no fruits. Their seeds develop in cones. The pine tree is an example of a gymnosperm plant. On the other hand, we have angiosperm plants. They have flowers. Pollinated flowers produce fruits, and they have seeds inside. The cherry tree, roses, and rice are examples of angiosperm plants. Parts of a flower. The sepal protects the bud until it opens. Petals attract insects. Stamens make pollen. Remember, the stamen is the male part of the flower. The pistil contains the ovules or eggs. When fertilized, ovules grow into fruits which contain seeds. The stamen is the main reproductive part of the flower. It's divided into two parts: the anther, where the pollen grains grow, and the filament that hold the anther. The pistil. The pistil is the female reproductive part of the flower. The pistil is divided into three parts: the stigma, the sticky point of it, the style, and the ovary. The eggs or ovule are inside the ovary. What is pollination? Pollination is the act of transferring pollen grains from the male anther of the stamen to the female stigma. The pollen lands on a female pistil. The sperm cells move down to the ovary, fertilizing the egg cells. Fertilization combines DNA. The result is a seed with a tiny plant inside. The ovary grows into a fruit to protect the seed. Pollinators, animals, wind, and water can all help in the transfer of pollen. We call animals or insects that transfer pollen from plant to plant pollinators. The flower type, shape, color, odor, nectar, and structure vary by the type of pollinator that visits them. Wind pollination. Some flowers, such as grasses, do not have brightly colored petals and nectar to attract insects. These flowers are pollinated by the wind. Flowering plants use the wind, insects, bats, birds, mammals to transfer pollen from the stamen to the pistil. Let's talk now about reproduction in plants without seeds. Remember, these plants reproduce asexually, using spores. There are two big groups of plants that use spores to reproduce: ferns, helechos, and mosses, musgos. Let's talk about ferns. They have roots and strong stems which grow under the ground. They produce spores on the underside of the fronds. The fronds are the large leaves, and they have sorry with spores inside. They are the oldest plants on earth. Mosses. They have very simple stems and leaves. They produce spores inside capsules. They are very small. We know that plants are producers. That means that they can produce their own food during a process called photosynthesis. The roots absorb water and minerals from the soil. Then, these water and minerals are transported through the stem to the leaves. This is called raw sap, in Spanish, savia cruda. Then, the leaves absorb carbon dioxide through the stomata. The chlorophyll in the chloroplast collects solar energy to transform water, mineral, and carbon dioxide into glucose, the plant's food, and oxygen. The stem carries the glucose to all the parts of the plant. Plants' respiration. During the day, as part of the photosynthesis process, plants expel the excess of oxygen through the stomata in the leaves. At night, when the photosynthesis stops, plants no longer expel oxygen. During this time, they release carbon dioxide. The photosynthesis is a very important process for life on Earth. Plants provide us with oxygen to breathe. Because of that, plants are called the lungs of the Earth. Plants consume carbon dioxide, which is toxic to most living things. With the photosynthesis, the water and minerals are transformed into food for the plants. Then, the animals can feed on plants to get energy to live.